Hello, I'm Luke Ryan and welcome to the Masters of Cinema Marathon number 1.5. Yes, 1.5. This is the second part of my review of The Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans Blu-ray as released by Eureka Entertainment in the Masters of Cinema collection, which this whole series is a review of. Now, why am I making a second part to this? Why am I making a video about a film, The Four Devils, that doesn't technically exist anymore? Well, because I felt like it deserved some more credit, and I wanted to talk about it in a bit more depth than I probably would have allowed myself in the first part of this review. I don't want these videos to get too long, so I split it up and decided to make the second part, number 1.5, where I would talk to you about Four Devils, everything I know about it, and my review of it. Now, how can you review a film that doesn't exist anymore? I hear you asking. Well, if you watch the first part of this video, Masters Cinema Marathon number 1, you will know that I opened up this booklet and said that even though I've owned this Blu-ray for almost 2 years now, I never knew until a couple of weeks ago that if you look on the contents page down at the bottom, it says that the DVD disc contained within this package has a script of Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans, and, which I didn't mention, it has a script of Four Devils. It has the screenplay of Four Devils on the disc with this package. So I read it naturally, and that is what I'm going to base my review on. At the same time, obviously I can't review the film because it doesn't exist, and there's a shocking statistic, I forget what it is now offhand, of how many silent films are now lost. You know, I mean, we have such great access now in the you know, in this age of high definition home media to so many great silent films. It's fantastic. It's an embarrassment of riches, but it only apparently seemingly is scratching the tip of the iceberg in terms of silent cinema, which is a real shame. And Four Devils is the absolute like pinnacle of that shame for me, because when I first heard about it I thought that sounds like such a good film, and the fact that it was an F.W. Murnau film, the fact that Janet Gaynor is the lead actress in the film, and then the story itself. Now, I'm going to talk about the film itself first. There's going to be a different format to the usual videos, but I'm going to talk about the film, and I'm going to talk about what we have of the film, and then final thoughts. So, without any further ado, let's talk about Four Devils. So Four Devils was F.W. Murnau's second film that he made in America, his second film with Fox Studios. He's coming off the big hit that was Sunrise, though I've just found out not actually as financially successful as I would have imagined, but it was a critical hit. It was critically acclaimed, and rightfully so, and so he moved on to his next film, Four Devils, the same leading actress, Janet Gaynor, and I believe that Four Devils was also based off a book. Now, I don't know who really wrote this film. The script that I read, the 238-page script, at the header of that, it had a name which I've forgotten. I should have noted down. I know it's terrible. I'm sorry. Forgive me. But I looked on IMDb. It says that Carl Mayer wrote the script, who wrote the script for Sunrise, which I read. And then I read somewhere else that someone else wrote the script. I read that F.W. Murnau actually himself wrote the treatment for it. So I really don't know whether it's who wrote it, and you know, whether it's an amalgamation of the different treatments other people wrote. I really don't know. Either way, I loved it, and this is my thoughts on that script, and purely that script, I would say. So also it's worth noting that I'm going to be spoiling everything about Four Devils, so if you ever feel like you're going to pick up this Blu-ray, or you already own it and you're going to go on the DVD disc, you're going to get that script, you're going to put it onto your computer, you're going to put it on your tablet, you're going to read it, then don't listen to anything I'm about to say. Also, there is a documentary on the Blu-ray that kind of tells you everything about the film, so if you want to check out that as well, then again, go do that and then come back. If not, thanks for watching, and I'll see you down the road. But for now, I'm going to talk about Four Devils. The film starts with these two young girls, Amy and Louise. Now, in the script, they're Amy and Louise, but in the film, they're Marion and Louise. So the character of Amy, played by Janet Gaynor, they changed their name to Marion in the film. And then there's two boys, Adolf and Fritz, and Fritz was changed from the script. In the film, he's now known as Charles, and I believe the actor who played him was Charles Morton, which I'm sure was convenient. But yeah, so they changed the names, I guess, to kind of, well, I don't know, Amy and Marion, there didn't seem to be any real discernible difference in terms of, you know, the name sounding like it's from a different nationality, whereas, you know, Adolf and Fritz, very German names. So Fritz was changed to Charles. Obviously, it's an American film. It seems like it'd be more relatable to audiences to have a main character called Charles, whereas with Amy and Marion, I don't understand what the difference was, why they made that change. I guess it was just a fact of, I don't like the name Amy, so let's give her a different name. Fair enough. So I will refer to Amy and Fritz as Marion and Charles. It might get confusing because I've read the whole script with those names in mind. Now, also worth noting, actually, when I started reading the script, I had to find out who Janet Gaynor was so that I can imagine her as I read it. And I could just imagine her acting all these scenes, and that was probably one of the best parts of reading it, was just imagining, like, wow, she would have nailed that scene. She would have been so, like, vulnerable in that moment, and I could just see her small little cute heartbroken face, and then the moment where she starts firing up, I could see, oh, it's just, again, I'm so sad this film was lost, but I'm so happy that at least elements of it survive, and as is said in the documentary, which I'll talk about later on, traces that have been left behind. So we have these two young girls, Marion and Louise. They're orphans. They live with this owner of a circus called Checky, and he has a clown who works under him, who is kind of an older clown, but he's a kind man, and he kind of looks after the girls. He's kind of the only kind of real fatherly figure that they have, whereas Checky is he's a hard ass. He's a tyrant. He is a hard ass, and he is just it's an all-round unpleasant person. In fact, there is a moment in the film where he starts whipping this dog, and it's just a horrible thing to read, but it really, just as soon as the film kicks off, you know that this guy is he's just a complete twat, basically. You don't like Checky. He's not a nice guy. Anyway, got these two girls. They live with him for whatever reason, and then these two boys come along with an old woman. It's never mentioned who this woman is, but I'm guessing that she kind of was their next of kin, but she couldn't care for them, and she's very tearful, so it's made clear that this isn't an easy decision for her to make. But she finds Checky and she says, can you take these boys in? Can you give them a better life than I can? Can you train them to be acrobats in your circus? Because their parents, who died, were these big, you know, acrobat stars. So Checky, you know, very heavy-handedly, you know, he brings the boys in. The boys are crying. He's like, take your shirt off. He's like bending their backs over, seeing how like nimble and stuff they are, and yeah, I'll take him and all this, and very, you know, emotional stuff. And you know, these two girls, they see the two boys, and lots of, you know, interesting energy going on there, from what I could read from the page. And so the boys are there, and it's not a nice life for them. It really isn't. And it comes to a point where the clown, who's never named, he's just the clown, he becomes very annoyed at Checky and his treatment of the kids, and they come to blows over a drunken game of cards. At least Checky is drunk anyway. And they fight, and then the next morning the clown decides, I've had enough of this, I'm taking these kids with me, I'm taking them away from you, until the clown rescues these kids from the ownership of Checky, and they go off and form their own act. And then we fast forward to when these four kids are adults, you know, the two brothers, two sisters, Marion, Louise, Charles and Adolf, and they now have formed an act, a very successful, popular act called the Four Devils, and they perform this huge, you know, death-defying stunt called the Leap of Death, I believe it's called, and you know, where they're flying on the trapeze and they jump and grab each other, all that kind of stuff. And so they're very successful, and I'm not sure where the film is set for the most part, but we pick up and they're at some city, some town, you know, they're on their tour and they've stopped here. All five of them are living in this boarding house, and then obviously they got their circus is set up somewhere in the city, and it kind of feels like it's in France. I'm sure there's something in the script that alludes to it being in France. Either way, they're in this city that's foreign to them, I guess. Not that really makes a difference, but it feels like that anyway. And they're doing their act, they're performing, they're doing well and that kind of stuff. There's a bit of romantic tension going on between both Adolf and Louise, and more importantly, Charles and Marion. And you know, when I first kind of read about this film and saw the documentary, at first I didn't quite clock that they were like it was two brothers, two sisters, you know, different parents, and I was like, wait, they're getting involved with each other? What kind of film is this? And they're like, oh wait, okay, yeah. Two brothers, two sisters, different parents, different orphans. Okay, got it, right, clear. You got that? Get it, got it, good. Right, so Yeah, the bit romantic, you know, it's underlying though. It's not very, you know, as far as the script goes, it's not very overt. And one night they're performing, and they're bowing at the end, and a rose drops at Charles' foot. He doesn't realise who's thrown it at first, but it's a woman, this very rich woman called the Lady. The Lady, played by Mary Duncan, who had gone to appear in F.W. Murnau's next film, City Girl, which has survived, and I'll be talking about that pretty soon in the series. And Mary Duncan, I really like the performances that I've seen her give in a few films, and again, I could really imagine her being this absolute bitch, because she's the villain of the film. Again, going back to Sunrise, she's the temptress, she's the seductress, the vamp, short dark hair, and she leads Charles away from his life of dedication and family love to a life of decadence and debauchery and sex, basically. Alcohol, drunken fueled sex, all this stuff. There's bits in the film where she's supposed to be showing her breasts, you know, it's supposed to be quite, what's the word, quite sordid, I suppose, quite erotic and things like that. Not overtly, again, it's not like an erotic drama or anything, but there's moments where it's alluding to how she's really kind of using sex and her extravagant lifestyle that she can afford with her riches to, you know, to kind of lead him into that life and lead him away from the people that he cares about and the thing that he loves doing, and that he's great at as well. So she kind of, you know, he finally gets, you know, he gets wind that she's kind of, you know, she's looking at him. She's there every night, you know, throwing the rose and stuff, leaving him letters. They go off and have these secret meetings in a big villa and in hotels and things. And Marion, who is so sweet on Charles, we just slowly see her get really just devastated by this. They have a successful night and they all go back to this restaurant where they go a few times in the film, and the clown is there and they've got a big cake and stuff, and the waiter's there and he's put gifts and stuff there. There's like a fake ring that Adolf and Louise, he puts it on Louise's finger like, oh, you know, we're gonna get married, you know, as a joke kind of thing, but then that kind of also symbolizes that, you know, maybe they will end up together. That their romance is a lot more simple and on the sidelines, and that's probably something that might have been something you could look at in the film itself and say that part wasn't as developed as it could have been. But at the same time, this really is about, as much as it's called Four Devils and they are integral to the film, as is the clown, it's really about Charles and Marion, which is fine, you know, but again, we'll never know because we'll never see the film, unfortunately. So she's seducing Charles away from everything, and it just keeps escalating, and the drama keeps ramping up to the point where Marion goes up to the house to confront the Lady, you know, to confront Mary Duncan. It was a great scene. I really wish I could have seen it, you know. And then Charles is starting to second guess himself, and he's saying, you know, you're luring me away from this. This isn't who I am, and stuff like that. And they get into a big fight, and all this stuff goes on. And the clown is saying, like, you need to be here on time. And you know, the clown becomes too old to even perform at this point, I believe. You know, he's going through some, you know, some health issues and stuff. And they come to blows. You know, like the one person who has been such a father figure to Charles, he turns against him, and they get into a scrap and stuff. He goes back to the Lady, and it's just, it keeps ramping up, and it keeps ramping up until the grand finale of the film, which is where, you know, Charles is getting so just, you know, just out of his character that he decides, right, next time we perform, we're doing the leap of death without a safety net. Put it on the posters. And of course the promoters are like, oh yes, get that on the posters. We're gonna get more money in now. Come on, leap of death. You know, no net. Put it everywhere. And there's scenes where you see people putting the posters up and stuff like that. And so it's building up to this grand night where they're going to do it without a net. And they practice it, and Charles falls. It's the first time he's ever fallen, and it's this big moment. And you know, is he going to be able to do this? Is the alcohol that he's consuming and the lack of sleep that is it affecting his performance? Is he going to risk his life and the life of the, you know, his brother and his sisters? I mean, they're a family. Even if the brothers and the sisters aren't related, they are a family. And even if there are romantic relationships going there, they are a family. They grew up together. And then it comes to the big night, and Charles decides, you know, that this woman is leading him astray. I'm done. And Marion is there, and she's just heartbroken that he has gone with this woman and stuff. And he says, "Can you forgive me? Can we go back to the way it was, just me and you?" And you know, he knows that she loves him, and maybe deep down he loves her too. He's just confused, and he was allured by this by something new, you know. Maybe growing up with Marion, he didn't feel like she was an object of affection because, well, she's kind of like my sister, you know. Whereas this lady is just, she's new and beautiful and has all these things that she can give him and stuff, and so you got kind of tempted, you know. It's the simple classic story of temptation. He gets taken in by it, and but he decides to shun it away. He realizes how bad it is for him, and him and Marion, they kind of have this reconciliation, and it's kind of hinted that they will begin to let their love for each other blossom. As it's not like they get together instantly, they start kissing, but it's implied. The night of the big show comes, and it's in the afternoon, and you know they're very happy now. They're sweet on each other. You can tell that, you know, things are going well and stuff. And Marion buys him a gift, and she leaves it in his dressing room. She's like, "Why don't you go to your dressing room? See what's in the dressing room." So he goes to the dressing room, and he's like all happy and stuff. And the lady is there, Mary Duncan. And he's like, "What are you doing here? Get away," and stuff. And she just seduces him. She just wraps her arms around him figuratively and pulls him away. Gets him drunk, sleeps with him, and then she leaves him in her villa, and she turns all the clocks so that when he wakes up, you know, in the evening, he's supposed to be performing, but the clocks show that he's not late. And so he's like, "Oh, thank God for that." But then he sees another clock and he realizes he needs to be at the circus right now. And so it says mad rush. He gets there, you know, they're just about to go on. And, you know, again, Marion's just absolutely heartbroken at this point because she knows what's happened. He's gone back to this woman. Marion is devastated. And she's the one who is going to swing on the trapeze. And, no, she's not. She's the one who's going to throw the trapeze to him. So that he can grab it into the triple somersault leap of death without a net. So they get up there, you know, he keeps looking at her, she keeps looking at him, she's mad at him, and the tension is there, and of course the lady is there watching smugly, and instead of throwing the trapeze to Charles, Marion swings across herself, knowing that she won't be able to hold his weight. She does it anyway, he's already swinging, they meet in midair, they grab, and then she lets go. And they both fall to their deaths. And, you know, in her last moments of life, she leans her head on his shoulder, and you know, and she says, "I love you," and that's the end of the film. The lady is obviously, she suddenly realized what she's done, and, like, you know, it's just mental. It's a mental ending, and at this point, Adolf and Louise had kind of had come together. They had this sweet scene with them playing chess together, and they kiss, and they're now a couple. And the end of the film is them going off, and they get married, and they're about to go off on their kind of honeymoon, and the clown's like, you know, have a nice time and everything, and then they pull him on the train. They're like, "You coming with us?" And he's like, "This is ridiculous, you know, you can't bring an old man onto your honeymoon." And they're like, "Well, we want you to," and they give him a big hug, and it's a nice happy ending, but still at the same time they've lost, you know, Marion and Charles. It's a very sad ending. And when the film came out, people who saw it in preview screenings, they said, "Look, don't change this ending, please," because it was such a breath of fresh air to see a Hollywood film where it ends like that, in a realistic way. It's no happy ending with a nice glossy sheen over it and everyone's a winner. It was a realistic, you know, this is what happens sometimes. People die, and, you know, people get sad endings in real life. But, you know, that wasn't enough. So the negative reaction to the ending of the film caused them to change it. They refilmed it, and I'm not sure where it comes into it, where Murnau wasn't involved in this, but they refilmed it. They got, you know, the actors come back, I believe, and of course they filmed it where I think they fall. I think there was two versions. There's one where they fall, but there's one where Charles falls, but he survives and he realizes the error of his ways, and everyone's happy and happily ever after. And then there's another one where nothing happens either. So it was kind of a cop-out, you know. And I almost feel like if they found the print now and it had the happy ending, it would almost be like, you know, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Like, oh, we can see, oh, but it's the ending with the, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I would want that tragic ending. Even though it made me sad and it made me tear up a little bit when I was reading it, it was like, you know, that's what films are about sometimes. You need to have the bad endings to to balance out the good ones sometimes, and it just seemed right. It seemed like, you know, that was it was just the way it was and the way it had to be. Now there are some things in the script that the formatting, I don't know if it was a bit weird, because there were scenes where the lady is talking to Charles about her family, and she's like, look at this portrait of my ancestor, and she tells a story and we get a flashback. I didn't like those bits actually, but then as soon as that's done we get the same scene again but with like a different backstory. So I don't know whether it's just someone's wrote the script and they've gone, okay, we can do it like that, or I'll write another one, we'll do it like that, or whether it was, I don't know. And I'm sure that there was something missing from the script as well. It felt like there was a couple of bits that got chopped out. I don't know what happened with that, but either way, it was a really great read. And I could imagine Janet Gaynor being incredible in it, and I just really wish we had this film. Really wish we had this film. But I've talked about the film now. What would I give it? Just as a kind of random kind of, what would I rate the film if it was a film based on what I read? I would probably be, you know, I'd probably want to give it a 10, but depending on some of the scenes, I think it would be more of a 9, 9.5, something like that. But again, you just can't tell. Maybe Murnau would have done something that you couldn't see in the script. You know, like he did with Sunrise. I read the Sunrise script, and there were things in the film that weren't really in the script. There are some things, but there's things that he added to it, and the cinematographer added to it. And so this could have been an absolute masterpiece. I just don't know. So, but based on the script, it was an amazing story. Like, I really loved it. I loved the feel of it, the setting, the characters. Awesome. Really, really great. Alright, so now that we talked about the film, let's talk about the special feature. Again, if I'm judging the script as the film, then the special feature is undoubtedly the documentary that's included on the Sunrise Blu-ray, which is called Murnau's Four Devils, Traces of a Lost Film. Janet Bergstrom's updated documentary, visual essay, whatever you want to call it. Fantastic 40-minute watch that basically pieces together everything that she could find about the film that tells the story. But she does say in the beginning, although I'm not sure if it's her narrating it, it's definitely a female voice. Either way, she wrote it. So she explains that this isn't supposed to be a reconstruction of the film, because all that are left are traces and ghost images and bits of the script, storyboards, which are great to see, and production photos, posters of the time, reviews that people wrote about when the film came out, and the events, press screenings, and then also we get to see behind the scenes photographs. It's a fantastic 40-minute piece. I will say the narration, whoever did it, she doesn't really engage very well. I mean, I hate, it might be Janet Bergstrom, in which case, sorry, but I think it's fantastic what she did making this, and finding all these things and piecing them together into this documentary that really well represents the film that no longer is available for anyone to see. So it's a very important little documentary, I think, but the narration is very slow and precise, but kind of mechanical. It kind of lacks feeling, and there's moments where she'll be saying something and then she'll continue, and there's this kind of weird pause. It's like, it felt like it could have been, not like sped up, but like, maybe just trimmed a little bit. Not even trimmed, just continue talking, or like there's just these odd pauses that, I don't know, maybe they were there by design. In which case, fair enough. I'm not one to criticize little things like that. But it was something that, as I was watching it, I was like, oh, But it's so engaging that it doesn't really sully it in any way whatsoever. It's just something I personally noticed the first time I watched it, and the second time I watched it last week. And I waited until I read the script before I watched it for a second time, and it was fantastic because I'd already read the story. I'd already been imagining Janet Gaynor and seeing her on screen, seeing the seeing the images of her on screen, seeing the images of the kids and the clown, what he looked like, and Checky and the lady Mary Duncan, all that kind of stuff. It was great. It really was. So highly recommend that you check that out. Check out that 40-minute documentary. It's a brilliant piece. It really, really is. And I just loved seeing it. But it was just a very sad piece as well. So that's it for the special feature, I suppose. We shouldn't really call it special features, but it was a special feature for the film, as is the script that is included. And I'm really, really glad. I almost want to just extend a thank you right now to Eureka for, when was it? 6 years ago, 7 years ago, for putting the script on the DVD, for including the documentary on there. I mean, maybe it was included on the US release as well, and they just ported it over. I don't know, but either way, thank you, because yeah, it's just heartbreaking that it's lost. It really is. I've said that so many times, but it is what it is, unfortunately. And now I move on to my final thoughts. Alright, so I just wanted to check a few facts just in case I got things wrong, and it doesn't seem like I did in terms of the endings of the film. Apparently several endings were reshot, and it just said the general release version of the film ended with the two main characters living. That's all they can really say. Also, I didn't know this, George O'Brien, the star of Sunrise, F.W. Murnau wanted him to be in the film as Charles, and in fact he wanted to play the role of Charles as well, but the studio went with Charles Morton instead. And actually something that I knew but I forgot about was that, of course, Fox released the film with a synchronized musical score, much the same as they did with Sunrise, but then they withdrew it to reshoot the last two reels of the film with sound. Obviously, again, this is on the cusp of sound in cinema, and yeah, I guess they thought we need something in this with sound, and I believe it was billed as hear Janet Gaynor speak for the first time. Of course, Janet Gaynor at this point, she'd done Seventh Heaven, she'd done Sunrise, Song to Humans, she was a big star at that point in 1928, and so to bill on the posters, you know, Janet Gaynor speaks, was going to be a huge draw, and so that's what they went with, and she's the top billed star on all the posters, that kind of stuff. And also, again, about how the film was lost, it says that film historian and collector William K. Everson stated that the only surviving print of the film was lost by the actress Mary Duncan, who had borrowed it from Fox Studios. He explained that she wanted to show it to a group of her friends in Florida, and she was aware that it was a dangerous nitrate print, but she assumed that Fox had others. And apparently the legend is she threw the only copy into the ocean, which I think he said is a monumental blunder to rank with the fall of Babylon as one of history's blackest moments. Yeah, it's kind of devastating, and it kind of almost goes along with the lady's character to be such a bitch as to say, right, I'm going to take that film, I'm going to fucking throw it in the ocean so no one can see it, you know, it's just like, you know, I didn't get the guy at the end of the film, so I'm going to, you know what I mean, it almost fits her character perfectly. But yeah, I don't know, that's just devastating if that's true, it really, really is. But it is what it is, and all we can do is kind of read the script, watch the brilliant documentary by Janet Bergstrom, and or maybe not. I mean, again, that's kind of the sad thing, is that who is really going to want to watch a 40-minute documentary about a film that doesn't exist? Maybe there are people there out there, I'm sure there are in fact, but who's going to want to read the script to that film? Not many, I can't say, because I'm just one of those weirdos who has to, you know, if I'm reviewing a film from the Masters of Cinema collection, I have to do everything. So I did, apart from watch the film with the Timothy Brock score, but I flicked through it, so I kind of did. Anyway, that is it. Four Devils. What can I say about it, really? It's, again, just a travesty, and I'm definitely feeling like a broken record at this point, even to myself. So, this is the end of my review of Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans. How many times have I said that? Again, probably you would die if you made this a drinking game for how many times I say Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans in this two-part video review of this Blu-ray release. So, before I go, one thing I want to mention, there's a few things actually. This, it says on the back that it is Region B, but it's actually region free, region ABC, so no matter who is watching this, anywhere in the world, you can buy this edition and it will play on your player, and that's awesome. But it has to be said that that's not really the case for hardly any of the Masters of Cinema releases, so for, you know, just moving forward, just assume that these are all region B locked to the UK. Again, the Masters of Cinema to me are kind of like the equivalent of the Criterion Collection in America. Obviously that is a much bigger label. It's been going on for longer and has a lot more money behind it, as can be kind of seen when you look at one of their recent releases from 2015, Limelight from Charlie Chaplin, spine number 756. Yeah, let's just say that I would never be able to do with Criterion what I'm doing with the Masters of Cinema, and I kind of like that. At least it's doable. Anyway, I'm going to give you some kind of ratings now. As far as kind of just the general thing. So number one I want to talk about, but just rate, I suppose. The film itself, it's a 10. It's a 10, I think we've established that. The way that it looks and sounds, it's a 9. It's a straight 9. I mean, it's not like, oh my god, it's the best thing I've ever seen, it sounds amazing. But it is just to see a film like this in such good quality, and it's a definite strong 9 for me. The special features, 9.5, just brilliant. You know, you get a commentary, you get 2 versions of the film in high definition, you know, outtakes from a film from the 20s, the trailer, and of course all the supplemental material that is surrounding Four Devils, which is just fantastic because it just packages that film in with this one, and it preserves a part of history which I'm all about. So a 9.5 for the special features, just based on the historical stuff with Four Devils, but also just the quality of getting 2 versions of the film, all that kind of stuff. Overall, the Blu-ray, it's a 10. It just has to be bumped up to a 10. It is one of my favourite Blu-ray releases for special features, for the film itself. Absolutely fantastic. Cannot recommend it enough. Also today, of the day this is posted on Friday, I'm not sure the date, but this Friday, today, my friend Ryan Chataway is posting an episode of his weekly show called Ryan's Cinematic Obsessions, in which he will be talking about this film, and he has this edition as well. He lives in America, but he got this edition because it was that good. So there you go. Go check out that. And also, as I put in the end of the first part of this video, treat this as a movie club. If you've seen this film, let me know what you think about it. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Again, make a video response. That would be amazing if you did that. But either way, just sound off in the comments down below what you thought of this film, what you think of this film, if you've already seen it, what you think of the Blu-ray, if you're going to go see it. You know, again, if you have seen this video and you feel like you want to go watch this, definitely do that. Come back and tell me what you thought. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching this first Uber installment of the Masters of Cinema Marathon. And I'll be doing this every time as well. Next time, number 2, we'll be talking about getting deep into Mad Detective. Spy number 2 in the Massive Cinema Collection. So you've got about a week or so at the very least before I post my review of this one to get this edition, watch it, or to get it some other way, watch the film so that you're ready to kind of talk about it and hear me talk about it in the next installment. Again, you don't have to, it's fine, you can just watch it, you know, without watching the film. But I'm just saying, if you want that opportunity to kind of join in with this film by film, just letting you know, as clear as day, this is the next film, Mad Detective, 2007, film from Hong Kong, and that's what will be next. So again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I've been filming this whole time. Holy shit. Wow. Shocking statistics. Statistic? Start that again. Yes. Hello, I'm Luke Ryan, and welcome to the Masters of Cinema Marathon. The Masters of the Masters of Cinema. Number 1 point. Fucking hell. No spoilers. No spoilers. Loads of spoilers. Correct myself again. I always seem to get things mixed up sometimes in these videos. I'm going to start again. Wow. Okay. His next film was going to be starring Janet Gaynor. It was going to be, you know, another big kind of... I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. I really don't know what I'm talking about today. I do know what I'm talking about, but I don't know why it's coming out like this. Well, I'm not what's... Fucking hell, this one's taking a long time to make. And she's sad about this, but I don't know who she was, but she feels the need that they'd have a better life, I guess. Fuck. And that's what will be next. So again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Wow, I actually did it. Whew.